It hit me like a slap in the face. Loud, echoing, and meant to hurt. I was standing near the back of the room, nursing a glass of cheap red wine, watching people flip through copies of my book like they were touching something fragile. It was my debut novel. My name was on the cover. My words inside. This night was supposed to mean something. My name's Tyler. I'm 38, live in Asheville, North Carolina, and after working construction for over a decade, I finally chased my dream and published my first novel. The bookstore was packed. Folding chairs everywhere. Local press. A few other authors. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. My wife, Vanessa, had shown up in heels and a tight dress, acting like she was the one on the damn poster. She was laughing with a group of people near the front, swirling wine in her glass like she was on some reality show. Then I heard it. Marrying a writer is like choosing to be broke forever. Her voice cut through the room. Loud, sharp, like she wanted everyone to hear. They did. The laughter stopped. Even the background music seemed to pause. Heads turned. A few people looked straight at me. Someone cleared their throat. My heart dropped, but I kept my face still. Rachel, one of the other featured authors, raised an eyebrow and tilted her head. Then, with a smile that had teeth in it, she said, "If you're looking to trade him in, I'll take him. I've always wanted a broke genius." People chuckled. Not the fun kind, the uncomfortable kind. I set my glass down, walked to the mic, and took a breath. I forced a smile. "Well," I said into the mic, "I guess I better sell a few more books tonight so my wife doesn't file for divorce." A few laughs. Pity ones. I didn't laugh. Vanessa waved her hand and said, "Oh, please, it was a joke." "Yeah," I said, locking eyes with her. "I noticed." Then I turned to the crowd and said, "Anyway, thanks everyone for being here tonight. Let's get back to the part where people support each other." They clapped. I smiled through it, but I was already done pretending. I walked off the little makeshift stage and grabbed my drink. Vanessa didn't say a word. Neither did I. We didn't speak the entire drive home. She sat in the passenger seat scrolling through her phone like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just embarrassed me in front of a room full of people who actually gave a damn about my work. I kept my eyes on the road, hands tight on the wheel. I could still hear the way she laughed, like the joke was on me and always had been. When we got to the house, she walked in first, kicked off her heels, and headed straight for the kitchen. I shut the front door behind me and followed her, my blood still hot. She was opening a bottle of water when I said, "What the hell was that tonight?" She rolled her eyes before even answering. "It was a joke, Tyler. Jesus, you seriously can't take a joke now. It wasn't funny. To you. To anyone." The whole room went quiet. Did you not notice that? Or were you too busy playing stand-up comic with a glass of wine in your hand? She set the bottle down harder than she needed to. You made it awkward by reacting. If you had just laughed it off, nobody would have cared. But no, you had to get all sensitive with a microphone. You mocked me. In public. At my book event. You think I'm not supposed to react to that? You always take everything so damn personally. I stepped closer. Because it was personal. You called me broke. You made our marriage sound like a punchline. She crossed her arms. I was just telling the truth. Being married to a writer is hard, Tyler. You're always in your head, chasing stories, barely making anything. You ever stop to think how hard it is to chase a dream when the person next to you keeps kicking you down every time you stand up? She stared at me, jaw tight. "Don't flip this on me. I've supported you." I laughed. Once, bitter. "Really? Is that what that was tonight? Support?" "I didn't mean it that way. You said what you meant. Everyone heard it. You said being married to me was like choosing to be broke forever." She didn't answer. I shook my head. "You know what? Maybe Rachel deserves someone who actually supports him." Her face snapped toward mine. "Oh wow. Wow. So now we're just flirting with other women in front of me?" "You brought her into it." She made a joke, sure. But at least it was aimed at lifting me up, not tearing me down. "You flirted back. I said one line to deflect your crap, and suddenly I'm cheating?" She threw her hands in the air. "Unbelievable. You always find a way to make yourself the victim. No, you make me the victim. I just finally started noticing. She went silent for a second. Then she grabbed her phone off the counter. You know what? I'm done with this conversation. Of course you are, I muttered. She turned to walk out of the kitchen. Keep running, I said behind her. That's what you're best at. She froze in the hallway for half a second, shoulders stiff, then kept walking. I stayed in the kitchen, alone, staring at the water bottle she left behind on the counter. I didn't sleep much. I stayed on the couch, still wearing jeans, staring at the ceiling while the fridge hummed and the clock ticked loud enough to punch holes in my thoughts. Around 7, the light started creeping in. I was about to get up when my phone buzzed. Rachel, hey, just checking in. You good? I stared at the message for a solid minute, then typed, yeah, rough night. Rachel, I figured. Wanna grab coffee? As friends. Promise I don't bite. I hesitated. Not because I didn't want to. I just knew how it'd look. But hell, at that point, I didn't really care. Vanessa had already flipped out over one sentence. Might as well earn it. I met Rachel at a small cafe downtown. One of those hip spots with mismatched furniture and chalkboard menus. She was already there, sitting by the window, nursing something with almond milk and cinnamon on top. Hey, she said, standing as I walked up. Hey, I gave her a quick hug, brief, casual. Nothing charged. We sat. She studied me for a second. You look like crap. Thanks, I said, cracking a tired smile. Didn't realize I came here for compliments. Rachel sipped her drink. So, how'd it go after the signing? I leaned back, exhaled. You ever argue with someone so long, you forget what it started over? She nodded slowly. She mad about my joke? She was mad I didn't shut you down, actually. Rachel raised her eyebrows. Wow, that tracks. I gave a half shrug. Honestly, last night wasn't even the worst of it. Just the most public. She talked to you like that often? I hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, not always in front of people, but yeah, always some little jab. Always some dig about money or writing or how I'm not practical enough. Rachel looked at me. Not with pity, just with this quiet, clear understanding. She sounds like someone who doesn't value what she has. The words hit harder than I expected. Simple, clean, true. I didn't answer right away. Just stared out the window at a couple walking a dog. I'm not trying to stir things up, Rachel said. You're married. That's your business. I hate seeing good people get dragged down. I'm not sure I'm that good, I said. Takes two to mess things up, right? She gave me this look, soft but solid. You stood there last night and took a hit in front of a whole room, and still managed to thank people and smile. That's not weak, that's respectable. I didn't know what to say to that. I wasn't used to hearing anything like it. She leaned forward a bit. You deserve to be with someone who doesn't see your dream as a burden. I swallowed. You married? I asked, mostly to shift the heat off me. Divorced, she said. 2 years ago. He didn't get the whole writing thing either. Said it was a hobby. So, I left. Just like that. No, she said. Not just like that. But eventually, yeah. I got tired of being minimized. I nodded, quiet for a second. That's a good word for it. We sat there, not saying much after that. Just two people in a quiet cafe with different flavors of the same story. Eventually, I stood. Thanks for checking in. Anytime, she said. Friends, remember? Yeah, I said. Friends. She didn't hug me again. Didn't flirt. Just smiled. Genuine and calm. On the way home, I expected to feel guilty. I didn't. I felt steady. Like for once, someone saw me without trying to shrink me. That shouldn't feel rare, but it did. I pulled into the driveway just as the porch light flicked on. The house looked normal from the outside, but the second I stepped in, I knew something was up. Candles. Actual candles. Lined across the dining table. Glowing soft yellow. Steak on the plates, wine poured. Vanessa stood in the kitchen wearing a dress I hadn't seen in months and a full face of makeup. She smiled like nothing had happened. Dinner's ready, she said, voice too sweet, too smooth. I shut the door slowly behind me. What's all this? An apology, she said, picking up her glass. And a peace offering. I dropped my keys on the counter and walked over to the table, eyeing the setup. Didn't know we were playing house again. Tyler, she sighed. Come on. Sit. Eat. I sat, but I didn't touch anything. Just looked at her across the table. I didn't mean it the way it sounded, she said, cutting into her steak. The thing I said at the bookstore came out wrong. You sure about that? She blinked, fork halfway to her mouth. I think it came out exactly how you meant it. You just didn't expect people to hear it. She set her fork down. I'm trying here. I set this up. Cooked. I'm admitting I messed up. I nodded. That's a start. But you've got to stop acting like I committed murder. I'm tired of being the punchline, Vanessa. I'm not some character you mock to get laughs. You take things too seriously. No, you take nothing seriously. She leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. So now I'm the enemy because I made one bad joke? It's not one. There's been years of this. Every time I tell you about a project or win, you find some way to twist it into a dig. I'm just honest. I don't sugarcoat. No, you tear down. That's different. The room went quiet except for the faint sound of the dishwasher running in the background. I don't want to fight, she said. I'm not fighting, I said. I'm done pretending it doesn't hurt. Her face shifted, less defensive, more confused. So what? Now you're the victim? I stared at her. No, I'm just finally saying it out loud. She picked up her wine, sipped, looked away. I thought we were moving on. I don't know what that even means anymore. You do something hurtful, then throw a steak on the table and hope it disappears. She didn't answer. I needed support, not damage control. She stood and started blowing out the candles one by one. No more makeup smiles. No soft voice. The room dimmed with each flame she killed off. I pushed my chair back, stood, and walked to the hallway. She stayed in the dining room, arms folded, staring at the empty plates like they could still fix something. I was in the living room, laptop open, trying to reply to some reader messages when I heard her voice cut through the silence. Oh, this is cute. I looked up. Vanessa stood in the hallway with her phone raised like a smoking gun. You gonna explain this? She asked, walking toward me. What is it now? She shoved the screen in my face. A Facebook post from the bookstore, photo of me and Rachel side by side during the signing. Underneath it, a comment from Rachel. Such a talented writer and genuinely kind soul. Can't wait to read what's next. You two seem cozy, she snapped. Anything you want to confess? I sat back on the couch. You're serious? You think I'm gonna let some thirsty writer chick praise you like that and not say something? She left a comment, Vanessa. Oh, don't play dumb. You've been talking to her. She messaged to check in after you blew up my event. We had coffee. That's it. Behind my back. You were too busy sulking and setting up candlelit pity dinners. What was I supposed to do? Pretend like none of it happened. You are emotionally cheating, Tyler. I stood up. You want to talk about cheating? You've been mocking me for years in front of your friends, your family, random strangers at dinner parties. And I swallowed it every damn time. That's not cheating. That's called banter, she said, crossing her arms. Men are supposed to take it. Not anymore, I said, my voice sharp. I'm done laughing while you chip away at me one punchline at a time. She scoffed. Oh my God, you sound so dramatic. I sound like a man who's finally sick of being disrespected. Over a comment? No, over a lifetime of comments. Over the fact that someone I barely know treats me with more kindness than my own wife. She blinked. That one hit. You really think you're the only one suffering in this marriage? She said, voice shaky now. Suffering? You haven't worked in over a year, Vanessa. You've had all the time in the world to figure yourself out while I busted my ass to make something from nothing. And the whole time, all you've done is tear it down. She pointed at me. Don't you dare act like I've done nothing. I'm not. I'm saying I've had enough. We stood there, both breathing hard, like we just finished a boxing round. She looked at me like she didn't recognize the person standing in front of her. I picked up my phone and charger, walked past her, and headed down the hallway. Where are you going? Guest room. Seriously? Yeah, I need space. From the sarcasm, the guilt trips, all of it. She didn't stop me, just stood there frozen in the hallway while I opened the door to the spare room and shut it behind me. I sat on the edge of the bed in the dark, phone still in my hand, and just stared at the wall. First night in that room. First time I'd said no more and meant it. It didn't feel good, but it felt real. I came out of the guest room the next morning to make coffee and didn't say a word to her. She didn't say anything either. Just scrolled through her phone at the kitchen island like we were strangers stuck in the same Airbnb. It stayed that way for a couple days. Barely any words. Cold silences. I wrote. She watched TV. We passed each other like ghosts. Until lunch today. She heated up some leftovers and set a plate down across from me like we were still playing house. I sat anyway, mostly out of habit. Halfway through eating, she dropped her fork and looked straight at me. You know what really bothers me? She said. I took a bite and chewed slowly. I'm sure you're gonna tell me. She didn't blink. It's embarrassing, being married to a writer. I set my fork down. Seriously, she went on. I used to date a lawyer, Tyler. He drove a Mercedes. Always had something going on. Clients, meetings, real plans. Drive. You should have married him then. At least he didn't sit around in sweatpants typing stories about fake people. I leaned forward, elbows on the table. When's the last time you worked? She rolled her eyes. Oh, here we go. No, answer the question. When was it? She huffed. Over a year ago. So what? So what? I laughed once. You act like you've got it all figured out while I'm chasing nothing. But you've been figuring things out for over 12 months while I busted my ass to publish something that actually means something. I needed a break. I was burnt out. You worked a front desk job at a gym. She slammed her hand on the table. Don't talk down to me. I'm not, I said. I'm just tired of being the only one in this house building anything while you sit there judging from the couch. I built plenty, she snapped. I kept this house together while you played Hemingway in the garage. You kept the house together? You barely do laundry. I cook half the time. You haven't touched a bill in months. She stood up fast, chair scraping hard across the tile. You're so ungrateful. No, I'm finally honest. You want to walk around talking about drive and ambition? What exactly do you bring to the table besides complaints? She stared at me, face flushed, breathing sharp. You know what your problem is? You think just because you strung together a few sentences and slapped a cover on it, you're some kind of success story. No, I said, standing too. I think I'm a man who finally stopped waiting for his own wife to take him seriously. Her mouth opened like she was about to say something else, but nothing came out. Instead, she grabbed her keys from the counter and stormed toward the front door. Where you going? I asked. Out, she snapped. Away from this miserable energy. Don't worry, I said. I'll be here, writing another book you can shit on later. She slammed the door behind her hard enough to rattle the windows. I didn't chase, didn't call, just sat back down at the table, picked up my fork, and finished my damn lunch. I was still at the table, finishing my last bite of lunch, when the doorbell rang. I didn't move right away. Figured it was a package or some neighbor selling something. But before I could get up, I heard heels clicking across the floor. Vanessa. A second later, she opened the front door. Oh, she said, voice sharp and sticky. Look who it is. Rachel. I stood and walked halfway to the front hallway, just in time to catch the fake smile plastered across Vanessa's face. Hey, Rachel said, holding up a hardcover. Just came to return the book Tyler loaned me. Didn't mean to interrupt anything. Vanessa snorted. You didn't. He was just eating. I'm sure he'll drop everything for you though. Rachel blinked but didn't rise to it. I won't stay long. Just thought it was polite to return it in person. How thoughtful, Vanessa said, leaning against the doorframe like she was settling in for a show. Must be nice. playing the good girl routine. Vanessa, I started. She held up a hand without even turning around. Let me guess, you're just friends, right? Rachel stayed calm. Yes, actually. Sure you are, Vanessa said, smiling tight. You know, for someone who claims to respect marriage, you seem real comfortable showing up at another woman's house. Rachel stepped forward just enough to hand me the book. Again, not here to cause problems. Oh, but you are a problem, Vanessa snapped. You think I don't see what you're doing? All those little comments, the coffee meetups showing up unannounced. Vanessa, I said, firm now. Enough. No. I'm not going to stand here while some thirsty little author groupie tries to steal my husband. I looked at her, dead in the eye. How do you steal something that's already been discarded? The silence hit hard. Rachel didn't say a word. She didn't have to. Her eyes shifted to the floor for a second, but her face stayed neutral. Vanessa turned to me, furious. You really just said that? To me? I said it because it's true. You threw this away a long time ago. You just didn't think I'd ever notice. She pointed at the door. She leaves. Now. Rachel looked at me. I shook my head once. She's not the problem, I said. The way you treat people is. You're seriously choosing her over your own wife? I'm choosing respect. That's it. She let out a breath like a warning hiss, then turned, grabbed her purse off the side table, and headed for the door. I can't even look at you right now, she snapped as she passed me. Then don't, I said. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her so hard the glass rattled. Rachel stayed where she was, quiet, still holding the returned book. You okay? I asked. I didn't mean to blow anything up, she said softly. You didn't. I took the book from her hand and set it on the entryway table. She looked at me, eyes searching. You sure you want me here right now? I nodded. Yeah, I do. She didn't smile, didn't flirt, just gave me a small nod. All right then, she said. I'll sit for a few minutes. Rachel left about an hour later. No drama, no tension, just quiet respect. When I closed the door behind her, the house felt heavier than it had in months. The kind of silence that doesn't rest, it waits. I knew Vanessa would come back. She always did. It was around 9 when I heard the door unlock. Her footsteps were soft, cautious. I stayed sitting on the couch, elbows on my knees, staring at the dark TV screen. She appeared in the doorway, eyes red, mascara smudged. Tyler, she whispered. Can we talk? I didn't answer right away, just waited. She took a few steps closer. Please don't give up on us. I'll change. Okay? I swear I'll try harder. Just don't leave me. Change how? I asked. She blinked. What? You said you'll change. So what does that mean? Because every time we have this talk, you say the same thing. And then it's back to the same digs, the same attitude, the same jokes. She wiped her face with the back of her hand. I'll be more careful. I'll support you more. I know I've been harsh, but I didn't mean. Stop. I leaned forward. I need you to name 3 things you actually like about me that have nothing to do with money or stability. She stared at me, caught off guard. What kind of question is that? Just answer it. She hesitated. You're responsible. That's stability. Okay. You're loyal. That's not about me. That's about what you get from me. She frowned, frustrated now. You're hardworking? Still about money. She threw her hands up. You're twisting everything I say. No, I said, standing now. You just can't name one thing you love about me. You love what I do for you. You love that I stick around no matter how you treat me. That's not love, Vanessa. That's dependency. She started crying again. Real tears this time. I don't want to lose you. You already did, I said. You just didn't notice until someone else treated me like a human being. She walked closer, reaching for my arm. Don't say that. Please, Tyler. We can fix this. We've been through worse. No, I said, stepping back. We've been through longer. Not worse. Just longer. Her lip trembled. You're really gonna throw away 8 years of marriage? I'm not throwing anything away. I'm just done being minimized. Done pretending the things you say don't cut deep. You're being cruel. No, I'm being honest, I said. Something you've always claimed to value. She shook her head, voice breaking. You don't mean this. You're angry. I'm clear. She backed up, pacing. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. Her tone turned desperate. You're heartless. I gave you everything. I barked a humorless laugh. Everything? You've been sitting in this house, tearing me down because you can't stand that someone else is actually chasing what they want. That's not fair. It's true. She crossed her arms, angry now. I'm not leaving. Then I'll start packing for you. Her eyes went wide. You wouldn't. I walked past her into the bedroom, pulled her suitcase from the closet. The sound of the zipper echoed through the room. Tyler! Stop it. I started pulling her clothes from drawers, folding some, tossing others. Don't do this, she shouted, grabbing at the suitcase. Then help me, I said. Make this easy. She froze, tears streaming down her cheeks. You're really serious. I stopped and looked at her. For the first time in years. She sank onto the edge of the bed, face in her hands, sobbing quietly. I kept packing. Not fast, just steady. Each folded shirt felt like a piece of the life I'd been carrying alone. When I was done, I zipped the suitcase and set it by the door. She didn't move, didn't look up. I walked out of the room, leaving her with the mess she'd made. She came out of the bedroom slowly, like every step was a negotiation. Her eyes were red, her hair pulled back in a messy knot. She stopped in the middle of the living room, where I was sitting on the couch, arms folded. Is this really happening? She asked. I didn't flinch. Yeah, it is. She looked around like the room might answer differently, like the couch or the walls might say something more comforting. I don't understand, she said. I mean, I know things got tense, but this? You're really done. I gave you 8 years, I said. 8 years to treat me like more than a fallback plan. I never saw you that way. Then explain why the only time you ever show emotion is when you think I'm walking away. She didn't answer, just kept standing there with her arms wrapped tight around herself. I'm scared, she said quietly. I've never lived alone. I lived alone the whole time we were married, I said. Difference is, I just stopped pretending. She winced, like the words scraped something raw. So that's it? You're done trying? No, I already tried. For years. You didn't notice, because trying looked like shutting up and swallowing it. She walked over and sat on the edge of the coffee table, facing me. Are you leaving because of Rachel? I let that sit for a second, then looked her in the eye. No, I'm not choosing Rachel. She looked relieved, just for a second until I finished. I'm choosing peace. That stopped her cold. You never gave me peace, I said. Not once. Just jabs and digs and cold shoulders. I was always either not enough or too much. I couldn't win with you. Her voice cracked. I didn't mean to make you feel that way, but you did. And now I'm done explaining why it matters. She nodded slowly, like the truth was finally hitting bone. Can I stay a few more days? She asked, barely above a whisper. I think it's better if you go now. Her shoulders sagged, but she didn't argue, just stood up and wiped her face with her sleeve. She walked down the hall, grabbed the suitcase, and rolled it toward the front door. Every sound, the wheels on the floor, the soft click of the handle, felt final. At the door, she turned one last time. You're not gonna stop me? I shook my head. Not this time. She opened the door and stepped out into the night. Cold air swept in for a second before it shut behind her. I sat back down, leaned my head against the couch cushion, and exhaled. For once, I didn't feel guilty. A month later, I was standing on the porch of a rented cabin in Tennessee, coffee in hand, listening to nothing but trees and wind, the kind of quiet that doesn't need to be filled. Rachel stepped out behind me, wrapped in a gray hoodie, her notebook tucked under one arm. They're starting in 15, she said. You coming? Yeah, I said, just soaking it in. The retreat was small, 10 writers total. All low-key, all focused. No egos, no fake smiles. Just people who actually cared about stories. Felt good to be around that again. To feel like I belonged. We weren't calling it anything. Me and Rachel. No titles, no pressure. But the way she smiled at me when I made coffee, the way she asked about my work like it mattered, it was real. At night we'd sit on the cabin porch, scribble in silence, or talk about life in a way that didn't feel forced. She never pushed, never pried, just listened. One morning, I opened my email and saw her name. Vanessa. Subject line. Please. I didn't click it. I didn't need to. Rachel came out with 2 mugs and handed me one. You good? I nodded. Yeah. She sat beside me and pulled her knees up to her chest. You know, she said after a minute, she tried to humiliate you in front of everyone. Yeah, I said. But in the end, she handed you to someone who actually sees your worth. I didn't say anything, just looked at her, then looked out at the trees again. And for the first time in years, I smiled without faking it. I wasn't invisible anymore.